You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
My brother used to say something. He'd say, you give them books, you send them to school, and all they do is eat the pages. And that's pretty much his way of saying stupid. Now, I'm not going to use that word to describe this, but I'm pretty sure that I spent all of last Thursday telling Warner Brothers how to fix things. And they spent all week, other than one thing they did that was positive, everything else just makes it worse. I almost don't know or understand how they could do that. How it could be so obvious that they're making choices that aren't going to help their situation. But we'll talk about that and the season finale of Only Murders in the Building coming up on the Dan Wickline Show. Stay tuned. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. And today we are going to talk about Only Murders in the Building, the season finale, and setup for season 3. But there's a lot of news to talk about before we get to that. Yes, the slow motion bit in Only Murders was brilliant, but we're going to get to that. First, I want to talk about some news that came in. If you were a fan of The Boys, well, we all had, we enjoyed Jensen Ackles coming in for season 3 of The Boys, playing Soldier Boy. And we know that happened because the co-creator of The Boys is the same guy that created Supernatural, Eric Kripke, and he brought Jensen Ackles in. Well, it turns out season 4, he's talked Jeffrey Dean Morgan into joining the show. Now, this was a bit of work because they had to coordinate with AMC with the fact that Morgan is in a new spin-off series called The Walking Dead: Dead City. So he's going to be doing 2 shows at once. So they had to figure out how to make that work. But no word yet on what part Morgan will be playing. I have my personal hope. There's still a lot of characters and stuff from the comics that they haven't got to yet. And there's also the fact that the comics, the series has kind of diverged from the comics quite a bit. So they could create a new character. It could be just about anything. But, and if you're a fan of the comics, you'll understand, I really would love to see him play Tech Knight. Tech Knight is their version, kind of a mashup of Batman and Iron Man. It's kind of that mixed character of the two, but he has a very unique and interesting story in the comics where he has a brain tumor that causes him to get unique urges towards unique objects. I think I'm going to go with that phrase. Yeah. Unique urges towards unique objects. and think of it in context of the boys. And I think you get the idea of what Garth Ennis came up with for that character. Also, there's a Robin-like sidekick who gets involved too. So it would be an interesting sub-story. I would love to see them tackle that one. So here's hoping that that's who he plays. But it'll be great to see JDM show up in any role. I always appreciate him, whether it's Negan on The Walking Dead, Thomas Wayne in the Batman versus Superman movie, the comedian in Watchmen, or anywhere he shows up. He's a really good actor. It's enjoyable to watch him. So it's great for me that he's going to pop up on The Boys. So that's one of the bits of news. Another bit of news that came out involving another comic book related TV show, Umbrella Academy. So Netflix finally announced that it's getting a fourth and final season. So we got one more round with the family. Most of the cast is coming back. There is a couple people whose character came in for season 3, and the fate of their characters are in limbo because we don't really see what happens to them at the end of the third season. But they're not listed on returning, so I don't think there's a lot of hope for those characters. But yeah, so a fourth season of Umbrella Academy. Of course, the series is a Dark Horse series written by written by Gerald Way, drawn by Gabriel Ba. So if you haven't picked up the comics, they're really good. So you might want to check them out. It's definitely different from the show. They made a lot of changes, but it's worth picking up. And we get a fourth and final season to wrap things up. If you have not had a chance to watch it yet, the second episode of She-Hulk dropped, and we're not going to go into spoilers. We're not going to talk about it too much. I will say for some older viewers, Cousin Larry joins the show. Cousin Larry! You should pick up on who that is. But the important thing is that we've been hearing a lot of rumors of late that a potential Hulk movie is in the works. And the reason that we're finally hearing about that is that the contract or the deal that Universal has to distribute Hulk movies is supposed to end soon. I don't know if it's in 2023 or 2024, but it's supposed to be 15 years from the last time a Hulk movie is made. If they don't make another one, then the rights revert back to Marvel, like it's done with a bunch of the shows and movies and characters. So if Marvel finally has the rights to put out a Hulk movie without having having to pay Universal to distribute it, then I think there's more likely to do it. Well, in the premiere, there is a moment that pops up that seems like it might mean something for the Hulk going forward. And in episode 2, we actually get more of it. And it does seem like something is happening with the Hulk outside of the She-Hulk series. It's setting it up. And would it be World War Hulk? Which is the rumor we're getting from a lot of people? It might be. I mean, it really could be. So I didn't expect we'd get a World War Hulk, especially with the fact that we kind of did Planet Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. But there is a possibility at this point, I think. So, hey, Ed, good to see you. Hey, Jeff. And yes, Balky forever. If you eat them all too quick, baby vodkas make you sick. Yeah. God, that show's so old now. All right, let's talk about Warner Brothers for a bit. Now, I did an entire show last week talking about how I thought Warner Brothers needed to make decisions, clear cut, put out information so fans can figure, kind of get an idea and pull the fan base together instead of dividing them. And I thought maybe they were starting to move in the right direction when the word came out that Matt Reeves had signed this big first look deal that involved movies and television, and that they were talking about huge projects for him, both in and out of the Batman universe. So they didn't say the DC universe, they said the Batman universe. So that's kind of his playground to play in right now. But that's the feel we got, was that this big Matt Reeves deal was finally going to kind of move things forward. And then we got word yesterday that, we had heard that executives had pulled all the footage of Batgirl with the idea of destroying it. The directors weren't able to find any. It wasn't out there anymore on laptops. It's just pulled in. But now we're hearing that the studio is actually doing what they're calling funeral screenings for the cast and crew so they can see it before it's taken out. And remember, if Warner Brothers takes the tax credit that they have said that they're going to take, and they probably have had to file for it by now because the month's almost over and it had to happen this month. So if they're doing that, then they can never release the Batgirl movie in a way that might make any kind of profit. It would basically be illegal. So the funeral screenings, I think, are interesting. But of course, this led to one of the actors involved, Ivory Aquino, to put out like a 12 tweet or 12 post plea to Warner Brothers to put the movie out. And I'm not sure why, because at this point, Warner Brothers, David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery is about getting rid of some debt to make the move profitable and to keep things going. I mean, there's some words that the studio only has enough money to put 2 more movies out this year. Black Adam and one other one, I can't remember what it is. But not even a DC film, just 2 films, period. And both of them should make good money, but so, they really need to cut debt. So I'm not sure why they're doing the funeral screenings, or at least they let it leak, but it's coming. That's what's happening right now. But where this gets even more confusing, hang on a second, Ed says, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but are the actors, directors, etc. going to get paid, or is it a bust because the movie is dead? No, the actors and everybody got paid. That's the thing. When they talk about the movie being an $80 or $90 million movie, that's cast, crew, all those people got paid. And they're taking the tax write-off for that. The only place that they're saving money is in advertising, to put out the ad campaign or the publicity campaign to promote the movie. Since they're not doing that, they're saving money there. But the movie has been shot, the actors have acted, the crew, everything, and it was in final production. So yes, everybody should get paid. So it's not a matter of them not getting paid, or Warner's reneging on a contract or breaking a contract. All those people are getting paid. So it's just Warner's has decided that putting the movie out would not be cost efficient. Just throwing it up on HBO Max, or they would get more money back on the film by doing this tax credit than they would in just putting it on HBO Max, or they would put it in theaters, because if you put it in theaters, you have to do an advertising campaign, and that would raise, you'd almost have to spend as much on that. So Yeah. No, very few contracts in Hollywood are based on box office draw. That's usually a rarity that you get a percentage. Normally, it's a flat rate. You get paid. You're done. Bigger stars make that can get that. Scarlett Johansson got that on Black Widow. That's why there was the big thing about them putting it on Disney Plus instead of in the theater. Um, Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness got it on Star Wars. He got like, I think, 0.25% or something like that, and it turned out to be millions and millions. Alec Guinness made a fortune off of Star Wars, but because of who he was and the importance he was to the movie, Lucas gave him that. So, but no, it's rare for an actor or a crew. It's even rarer for crew to ever get a percentage. So it's usually a flat rate, and it's part of the budget. So, but what we heard yesterday makes all of this even more murky. Reports came out, there'd been rumors of it for a while that they were going to postpone Shazam and Aquaman to a later date. And it didn't surprise anybody that that finally came out. And the postponement of Shazam from December of 2022 to March, I think, 17th, 2023, didn't surprise anybody. That was Aquaman's date in March. So it merely just bumped the movie. And it makes sense that they moved Shazam because they were going to be up against Avatar 2, the sequel to Avatar. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily think Avatar 2 is going to do that great. I don't think it's going to be as successful as the first Avatar, because I think most people went and saw the first Avatar because it was visually stunning. It was like nothing else before. But effects have grown so much that I don't know if, and unless they push technology even further, I don't think it's going to have the draw, because I have never heard anybody who said that Avatar was a brilliant movie from the point of view of story. Mostly what I heard is that it's pretty much Pocahontas. You know, it's a story that's been done and done and done and done, and they just happen to make it with blue people. So, but the reason Disney wanted to get away from that is that Avatar locked up all the IMAX theaters for that weekend. So Shazam would be going in with less theaters than they could take over. And the more theaters you're in, the more money you can make. Just that simple. So moving to March opens that up, gets you away from another big film. And I don't believe there's anything big opening up opposite of them in March. So it's a good thing. Now, what surprised a lot of folks, and myself included, is Aquaman was then bumped. Now, we knew it would get bumped, but it got bumped a lot. If it would have moved to like June, and then The Flash, which was in June, got moved, that would have made sense. They moved Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom to Christmas 2023. They moved it 8 months. And they said that the reason it got moved is that they needed more time for post-production. Now, when you come out with a statement like that, you're going to have a lot of people speculating. And when it comes to a movie like Aquaman, the speculation is going to be all over the place. The first people are talking about is the fact that they were doing reshoots a few weeks ago with Ben Affleck coming in to shoot the scenes that Michael Keaton had done to replace him, because Aquaman was coming out before The Flash, and the switching of Ben Affleck to Michael Keaton happens in The Flash, so it didn't make sense to audience goers that Michael Keaton was in the movie. So the thing was that they were bringing Ben Affleck in to reshoot those scenes so that now we'd have Ben Affleck as Batman, and then the Flash, they could do what they wanted to do with Affleck and Keaton. Well, they haven't said if they're moving the Flash or not. It's still supposed to be in June. Don't know if that's going to hold, but as of right now, it's supposed to be in June. And they may be trying to figure out if it's going to hold or not, depending on what happens with Ezra Miller. If Ezra is able to go through the, get help in whatever, and make their mea culpas and be able to promote the film, they may still put it out in June, or they may move it. But the question comes at that point, well, if it comes out before Aquaman, do you leave Michael Keaton in the film? Or do you go ahead and switch it to Ben Affleck? And then, the fact that they don't come out and say what's happening with the Flash leaves fans the ability to kind of take their own direction with it. So there are people online who are saying that it being postponed until December is proof that they're bringing Ben Affleck back, and it's to give extra time to get him into the film. And so the people, the Snyderverse people, and the people who think everything, it should go back to that, are claiming it as a victory. People on the other side who thinks we should move on or want Michael Keaton is going, well, they moved it on the other side of the Flash, so now we can go ahead and leave it as it was, put Michael Keaton in, so now they just need to clean up the film. Well, there's a third party who have come out and said, well, obviously they moved it because they need time to take Amber Heard out of the film because of all her controversies with Johnny Depp and the lawsuit there. There's millions of people online saying that they're going to boycott the film if they don't remove Amber Heard. And the fact is that Warner Brothers isn't coming out and saying anything. They're not agreeing, disagreeing. They're not making statements. So they're allowing the fan base to continue to be splintered. And that's not a way to solve their problems. That was my biggest thing when I talked about what I would do if I was in charge of Warner Brothers, is communicate with the audience, set up realistic expectations. Don't give them away everything, but temper down these splits and try to pull it together. But they just continue making it a bigger and bigger mess. And I don't know why. And I know they're still looking for their Kevin Feige, or as I theorized last week, they know who it is, but that person has to wrap up a project before moving over. But yeah, it's a mess, and they're not doing much to correct it. Now, there's one other thing to throw out there, is while they were doing all this shifting around, they moved a bunch of movies. These are just the ones that are the biggest critical to what we talk about. But they also planted a flag on a date in February, I think it's February 10th, where they plan on putting an event movie, but they haven't said what movie. And I don't know if there's any movie that's far enough along to go in that slot that I've heard of that would be considered an event movie from Warner Brothers, unless they move The Flash up, which would be equally crazy. If they move Flash up to December or to February and just get it out there and, bite the bullet, which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea. But again, if it's going to be your reboot for cleaning up your messes, I don't know if you want to move it up to February. So what is the February date they've got? What's going there? So Warner Brothers is making a lot of changes, shifting things around, but they're not being very transparent, but they're also not being too quiet. So they're doing these things, people are picking up about it, and they're speculating and running with it. Because nowadays people speculate to fact. They basically they say, well, probably they're doing this, so that's going to happen as a fact. They come up with these wild speculations and then take them as fact, and people report them as facts. And there aren't any facts right now. That's the problem. So Warner Brothers continues just to be a hot mess. And I don't know how they're going to clean this up, because they're not moving forward with cleaning it up. So, all right. That's basic news. We're going to talk about Only Murders in the Building, but let's take a quick break. And we want to pay attention. There's an ad for our mailing list. And if you're not currently on the mailing list, there's some stuff might be happening soon that you'll want to be on the mailing list. So let's go ahead and roll some commercials, and we'll be right back.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on The Experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us _EXP@yahoo.com for more details. Get the inside scoop on everything happening at The Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
Guys, I hope you signed up for the mailing list. Like I said, some things are brewing. Also, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Minor announcement I have. I do this show 3 times a week. I do Pop Go the Writers on Sunday night. I do the in-stores this week on Tuesday nights. But news happens in between. And while I'm not adding any time to the Dan Wickline Show, because I already do 5 hours of podcasting, I did set up a TikTok last night with the idea when there's big news, I will take and do a quick minute to cover the news and just get it out there. So if you're looking for a place to get your latest entertainment news, check out, and you are on TikTok now. You could follow me on there. It's my name. It's Dan Wickline, and you can pick up the latest news as I see it, and do a quick cover of it. Just do a synopsis of it. It won't go into big details, but unless I see something really breaking, I'll do a longer one. But mostly there'll be 1 minute little segments, just giving you the latest news as I see them, as I can. And, I won't be dancing. I won't be doing any video edits that has like me talking to myself. At least I haven't figured out how to do that yet, and I don't think I'll be bringing the puppets in anytime soon. But other than that, just latest news. So check out my TikTok page. It'll also post on Instagram. I haven't figured out how to get it onto my other sites yet, but I'm a TikTok virgin, so I've done 2 posts so far. But you can check that out. TikTok, Dan Wickline. So, all right, let's talk Only Murders in the Building and how that might not be the title next season. All right. We're going to do a spoiler roll because we're definitely going to spoil things. So, Jay, if you could hit the spoiler stuff, please. All right. The great thing about episode 9 is that it brought back a lot of the storylines that had either quieted down, got put aside, stuff like that. We had a resolution on whether or not Oliver was Will's father, and a confrontation between Oliver and Teddy Dimas. So that was great. And we had more with Theo earlier on episode 7. We had a resolution about Rose Cooper, the artist, and Charles's father, and that situation with the painting. And we got to figure out who Glitter Man was in episode 9, along with what we thought was who the mastermind was. But the show has twists, so we thought it was Cinda Canning, because Poppy pointed out that her previous podcast, Not Okay in Oklahoma, turned out to be kind of BS, because the main character of Becky Butler that they were all looking for and was murdered, turns out wasn't really murdered, because Becky Butler turned out to be Poppy. Poppy had, Becky, we didn't get too much of the details in episode 9, but there was a lot of reveals in episode 9. So episode 10 comes along, and we're going into it thinking, okay, Detective Krebs is the bad guy. Cinda Canning is the mastermind. We just gotta, get the details, how it's all going to play out. And we start off with a flashback to Becky's life, why Becky disappeared, how all of it happened. And we discover that she was in not an abusive, somewhat abusive relationship. She had a father who was an alcoholic and somewhat abusive. And she worked for the mayor, and he was a bit inappropriate. He was inappropriate. And it just became a life she didn't want to live anymore. So she decided to disappear. And in doing so, it became big news. And she then went and talked to Cinda Canning, hyping about how the show would be a podcast about this missing girl who happened to be her, and would be a good podcast show. And it was. I mean, it's what put Cinda Canning on the map. Well, so we get the backstory on Poppy, and then Poppy is talking to the trio, Charles, Oliver, and Mabel, and is trying to help them figure out how to get Cinda to confess. And she gives them two of the most innocuous pieces of information. That Cinda seems to be uneasy with slow motion. They had gone to a Super Bowl party, and anytime they did a slow motion replay, it made Cinda almost look sick. And the second thing is that Cinda really can't stand the inside of tomatoes. Well, the trio comes up with this idea of having a killer reveal party. And the running joke is, well, wait, is this a party where you reveal the killer, or is this like a really good really good reveal party? So, and it took a while to figure out what the answer to that was. But also that they had lied about there being cake, but they eventually got cake. But this whole thing is to get the people in the Arconia to help them stage this setup to make Cinda confess. And not only did they have a lot of the people from the building, I always have a hard time with his name. The cat lover guy. Let's see. Howard and his new boyfriend. And Uma was there. And they brought Marv in from the fan base. And Alice showed up. They invited Alice. So they had this whole thing. And then, of course, Cinda and Poppy show up. And the whole thing comes across, like I said, that they're trying to force a confession out of Cinda. And as they're working it, Howard, yes, thank you, Jeff. And the doorman's there, a bunch of other people. And they even asked, does anybody have any acting experience? And Howard's like, well, I auditioned for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And then it turns out that the doorman had actually gone to Juilliard and had started on Broadway before he jokes around about before I decided that my life was better off as a doorman. And they're like, really? He goes, no, I just stopped getting work. So that was pretty funny. But so you've got all these people set up, they're doing it, and they start trying to get Cinda when she shows up to confess, and they start using the stuff Poppy told them, which is slow motion. So you have the three of them moving in slow motion and asking in slow motion, and then everybody is moving in slow motion, and Cinda looks like she's about to throw up. It's just really uncomfortable for her. Then they brought out a little table with a tomato, and they started slicing the tomato so she could see the inside. And all of this is going on, and I'm watching the show, and I'm like, this can't possibly work. This is ridiculous, even for this show. I mean, at one point, Oliver makes a comment earlier on. It's like, this doesn't even feel like a finale yet. It's like, yeah, and it didn't to that point. And just when it looked like Cinda was about to confess, Mabel flips the script and turns around and accuses Alice of doing it. And just outright, and Alice, they have this argument going back and forth, and it sounds like Alice confesses, and there's a knife by the cake, and she picks up the knife and goes to stab Mabel, and Charles gallantly jumps in the way and takes the knife to the gut, and he falls, and Oliver and Mabel drop down while everybody else grabs Alice and they tie her to a chair. And as they're checking on Howard or on Charles, he dies. And they end up putting a sheet over him. And it's they're waiting for the cops to show. They've called the cops. They're on their way. And you're sitting there going, well, wait a minute. Alice is the killer and you've killed off Steve Martin's character? There's a third season coming. How is that? No, this doesn't make sense. And you start scratching your head trying to figure out what the hell just happened. And Tina Fey's character, Cinda, sits down with Mabel talking about how, oh, you were brilliant in getting her to confess and stuff. She says, I really think you could be a good podcaster. And, maybe you should come work for me. And, and more than just work for me, though, we'll get you on the air. We'll get you your own podcast. And this makes Poppy lose it. Because that's all Poppy wanted. Poppy wanted the the credit for all that she had done, for helping Cinda build her little podcast empire. And they pretty much get her to confess what she did by finding out that she's allergic to molting birds. Mrs. Gambaldini, or whatever it is. Cinda calls her Becky, and we find out that Cinda has been in on this whole thing. So this murder reveal party is all a setup to get Poppy to confess. And it all comes down to a sandwich. When they're meeting with Poppy at the restaurant, she turns to Ivan and says, can I get a liverwurst and marmalade to go? Which, besides making me throw up in my mouth a little bit there, because that's disgusting. We find out that it's on the menu. It's the number 14 sandwich. And that is the favorite sandwich of the owner's sister, which is why it's on the menu. Now, she's not the owner's sister. It just happens to be there's two people in the world who like a liverwurst and marmalade sandwich. And again, if you haven't let just the sound of that sandwich sink in, oh. Anyway, well, it turns out what Bunny had thought that was the most disgusting thing, couldn't believe it was on the menu. So when she gets stabbed, that's how she remembers Poppy, who had come to her about the painting or something or other. She remembered her as the 14 sandwich. So it wasn't 14 savage that she said as she died. It was 14 sandwich. So that's what cued Mabel into who the killer was, and they got Poppy to confess. And of course, she gets arrested along with Krebs, and it turns out the smartest woman in the world that Krebs hooked up with, turned out it wasn't Cinda Canning, it was Poppy or Becky. So I thought they did a really nice job with the murder mystery. There was a good twist. They gave us Cinda at the end of last episode, but then it was a nice feint or a red herring. I mean, we're talking about something that was basically set up in season 1. Yeah, Jeff, I'm with you. That's the idea of liverwurst and marmalade. Oh my God. So yeah, I thought it was a really clever twist because they had gone through the show, and I remember complaining a few episodes ago that they weren't really doing the podcast. They weren't really giving us clues and stuff. So obviously we must have already met the killer. And I said, the only ones that we haven't cleared are Krebs and Cinda, not thinking they would use Poppy as a killer. But I was wrong. It's Krebs and Becky or Poppy. So that was a pretty nice twist. Now, I think that it and the fact that both Cinda and the Only Murders in the Building guys get to do their finale, they get to do the reveal, it really kind of worked out for everybody. This is a character that, unlike season 1, that Charles had fallen in love with the killer, This one, not a lot of people cared about the killer. So it's a little less emotional. But it's a really good mystery the way they laid it out. They gave us all the information, but still there were a couple surprises and sneaks. So, all right, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, though, we will talk about the setup they did for season 3, which may be the bigger thing from the episode. So stick around. We'll be right back.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there. Hi there. Ho there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in a minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the damn Wickline show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at The Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the damn Wickline show. We are talking Only Murders in the Building, Season 2 finale, and the setup for Season 3. Now, the episode, of course, ends with Charles asking the makeup girl out. They had kind of set that up, makeup lady. Mabel and Alice are friends again, but I don't see them continuing the relationship. And the writer has said the same thing. So Mabel will probably be in a new relationship going forward. And Oliver has talked to Will and come clean about him not being his dad. And Will's like, no, you are my dad. Not genetic, but any other definition of the word dad, I don't know, So all the stuff from Season 2 gets wrapped up. And we find out that Oliver gets a call asking him or, giving him the opportunity to direct a Broadway play. So then we take a 1-year time jump. And 1 year in the future, Oliver is getting ready for opening night. He knocks on his star's door, a guy named Ben Glenroy, who I guess is supposed to be a big star. And when the door opens, it turns out it's Paul Rudd. And that right there is pretty fascinating. Now, according to how Paul Rudd ended up part of the show is he and Martin Short are really good friends. He had previously done a show or a movie with Selena Gomez, and Paul is a huge fan of Steve Martin. So they called him up and said, yeah, you want to come on the show? You'll be in it for about 5 minutes and then possibly come back in season 3. He's like, yes. So that's pretty much how Paul Rudd ended up on the show. So he heads out, and you find out there's some tension between him and another actor. Well, it turns out that other actor is Charles, who is also in the play, which is fascinating. And they have this little confrontation behind the curtain right before it opens. And he says stuff like, you need to stay away from her, and I know what you did. Now, who's her? In the audience, we see Lucy, see a couple people from the building. We see the makeup lady that I think her name is Joy. And we see Mabel, and then Oliver goes and joins him. So is he talking about her as in Mabel? Maybe Paul Rudd and Mabel have a thing going for a while? Or is it Lucy? So we got that set up, that there's tension between the two of them. Then, of course, curtain comes up. Paul walks out, goes to deliver his first line, starts choking up, and falls to the ground dead. Of course, Charles comes running out. Everybody goes on stage, looks down. It's like, oh, he's not moving. Oh, he's dead. Mabel is in the audience, goes, oh, you've got to be effing kidding me. And that is our setup for season 3. Paul Rudd is the murder victim. Now, Jeff makes a great point, and I hadn't thought about this. The show is called Only Murders in the Building, and it's set up in season 1 that they will only podcast about murders that happen in the building. Well, this happens in the theater. So it didn't happen in the building. Now, I'm assuming that this is the murder we're going to have to deal with in season 3. So what Jeff brings up is pretty interesting, is that when he gets the part, it's possible that Ben Glenroy moves into the Arcona, during the 1-year gap so he could do the play. Maybe he takes over the Penthouse, since he's a big star, when Amy Schumer moves out. You know, since Sting, it was Sting, and then it's Amy Schumer. So that's possible that we end up with Paul Rudd in the building. Then it kind of keeps to the theme, because there was a point where Steve Martin says, no, we're only going to focus on murders in the building. Well, murder victims in the building, maybe, you know, because if he did live there, it makes more sense and it kind of ties everybody together. So, yeah, I think Jeff brings up a great point. Otherwise, it's throwing off the things said in the first season. But I love the setup. I love that we do get out of the building a bit. Maybe we'll actually get a chance to do some other scenes, you know, outside in the theater, in the city, stuff like that. I love that they brought in Paul Rudd. You know, I think he's a great actor, and I think he really brings something to the show. His comedic timing is great as well. So it'll be interesting to see him interacting with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Mabel, Selena Gomez. So that should be great. But I think the way they did it really leaves a lot of excitement for the 3rd season. You know, when Bunny gets killed, nobody really liked Bunny that much. You know, she wasn't portrayed as a sympathetic character. She became one in some of the episodes, but she wasn't a sympathetic character going into it. So it was more curiosity. But now that we actually see what, you know, the setup is even more personal, it's more specific. Plus, the first 2 seasons ran back to back really close. We get this year time jump. So we're also going to have what happens in that year to explore as well. So I think it's really interesting. It's a really good setup. So yeah, and season 3 had already been approved well before season 2 got really going. So, I think they'll probably get jumping on the show soon. And yeah, I really love what they're setting up for season 3. And I thought season 2 was brilliant. There were a couple points that I thought it was kind of getting off the rails a little bit, but they brought it back around. Episode 7 was the one that I went, I really loved this episode, but they've gotten really far away from the format of the show of having the podcasts and giving us, suspects, and then either, negating that suspect or giving us more information. They brought it back around starting with episode 8, 9, and then really paid it off in 9 and 10. And I thought the mystery was really good. It was surprisingly good. So I'm really happy with the second season. I don't think it was as tight as the first season. I think the first season, but you have more time when you do a show like that because you get to work out all the kinks and stuff and writing and rewriting and stuff. You've got time before you start filming. Then you come off of this first season. They go, yeah, we want a second season. We want it quick. So you got to really rush so you don't get as tight of a story, which I think did show here. But overall, I think it was great. I love the show. I love the characters. And this is one of those that if season 3 started next week, I'd be excited for it, just ready to go. It's not one that I go, okay, take a little time from the show, move into the next thing. Nope, I'm ready. Give me more. Ready to go. So, but it'll probably be a year. It was 8 months between the first season and the second season. I don't know if they'll be able to turn it around again that quick, especially, Paul Rudd's availability. Because, yes, as the victim, he's dead, but we'll have to get an episode or 2 kind of explaining who he is and all the backstory and giving us a reason to care. Just like we spent episodes with Bunny, and in the first season we spent episodes with Tim. So expect that. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for me there. Remember to sign up for the mailing list. Something's coming up. You guys are going to want to be on the mailing list. Stick around. I don't know what's on after this. There's some shows. They're usually good. Oh, what's in the box with Miss Jen? That's where she goes into her back room, takes a random box, brings it in, and sells what's ever in it. I'm really waiting for an episode where she finds something really bizarre in it, like a dead rat, things like that. So, and then we got Space Cadets and Kicking with Henri. So, yep. How can I sign up for the mailing list? There was an ad that shows it. I think we have a UPS code, but the ad should come up between shows or into the first show. So it'll pop up again, or maybe Jay can put it into chat. Is there a link for the mailing list, Jay? Jay's scrambling back there. Not even supposed to be here today. It's supposed to be JD. What are you doing to me? So Jay will get with Kyle and find out exactly how to get a direct link for the mailing list, and we'll get that posted. So, all right. I'm going to pass this on to Miss Jen. What's in the box? I hope you have a great show, Miss Jen, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.